Have you ever gone to see a movie and then come out feeling just like completely in the middle? Like you're not overwhelmed, you're not underwhelmed, you're just kind of whelmed. So, anyways, I just saw The Watchers. Fair warning, some light spoilers ahead. I'm not gonna say too terribly much outside of some of the like base plot and whatnot. I don't want to full on spoil anything, but it is a review of a movie. So if you have not seen it and you want to go in completely fresh, maybe come back, give this a quick glance over, or just come back after you've seen it. That's all I can say there. Again, I'm not gonna completely spoil anything, but yeah. Anyway, so going into this movie, I hadn't heard too much outside of the fact that it was Ashana Night Shyamalan who was the director, I believe. And the trailers looked interesting. They did a pretty good job to pique my interest. I wasn't 100% sure what I was going into and what I was going to watch, and I think if it's a trailer for specifically a horror film, you want it to be that way. You don't want to know what you're going to see fully. But it really piqued my interest, and it looked like it was kind of an interesting concept. So, um, yeah, the trailers, I think they did a really good job getting me interested in that. I've seen a lot of bad horror films recently, or just like thriller films or anything. I don't know what they're saying this one is between those, but either way, I've seen a lot of bad ones recently. And so the trailers did a really good job of actually getting me to want to go and see the movie. As far as the base plot goes, it's set within a like a I don't know if they said it was like a cursed forest or whatever, but there's this creepy forest. It's got some creatures in it. They're called the Watchers, and the main character goes into the forest, gets lost because the forest plays tricks on your brain and whatnot. It wants to keep you in there, type thing. And then there's a couple of other people all in this like little studio that has one-sided glass. And the creatures watch them at night. They don't know what the creatures are, what they want, what they look like, type thing. They're just out there and they watch them inside of their shelter every night, just basically living their lives in there. And they have some rules they have to follow that are given through some exposition and whatnot. Like they're not allowed to like go looking for the creatures in the day when they're allowed out, type thing. I think one of them was like, don't turn your back to the glass when they're watching. And yeah, that's pretty much the base plot, the gist of the plot, anyways. So the main character is Mina, played by Dakota Fanning, and she is one. She has a job that she works at like a pet shop, and she has to go and deliver this pet out to a zoo, and that's how she ends up driving. She just follows her map. It brings her out to there, gets into the forest, and then her car dies, and then she gets lost in the forest. But yeah, that gets her out there. And it's very obvious that she has some like trauma and some backstory that are sitting in there that you start to see a little bit of as the movie goes on. But she's obviously working through some stuff and is very conflicted in her own life and trying to figure out what she's trying to do. And that is one of the lines in there is the forest seems to attract the more troubled people out there than anything else. So my overall opinion of the movie is it's pretty interesting in the first half. I found myself quite enjoying it for a little while. I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff going on, and you start to try to piece things together yourself, and you're just going through, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is interesting. I kind of like this. And then as it starts to go on and more stuff starts to get revealed, I just became more and more hesitant to everything going on. I wasn't as big of a fan of it as it went on longer and longer. It's just kind of it started to lose me pretty quick. I say pretty quick. Most of it's surrounding the ending. And we'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, some of the like characters and the characterization, their motivation, their reasons for like you wanting to like them or not like them and whatnot are a little bit rushed. There is a bit of a spoiler here, but it's a horror film, so it's not too terrible. I'm not going to name names or anything. one of the characters does die, and you don't really know much about that character at that point. You know some of his personality, you don't know anything outside of that. And so you when the character dies, they wanted you to try to feel something for the character and get kind of sad and be like, "Oh, I like that character." But there wasn't really anything there outside of like they gave the character like 30 seconds of some sort of like actual like character traits and like character conflict and stuff like that. They put like 2 seconds of that in like a couple of minutes before the character death, and it didn't come off super impactful. And I think most of the characters in there, even the main character to a point, their motivations and their like actual character traits outside of just their base personality seem a little rushed and just not fully thought out. Like I didn't find myself really latching on to any of the characters all that much. It was just they were all kind of there and we were just watching them do their thing because they were there. They didn't really have a whole lot of personal stuff going on in there. There was like I'm getting at, they had character like personalities. They didn't really have any like traits of conflict or anything, and so it was just a little hard to latch on and actually like pick a character that you're like, I absolutely like this character. I really resonate with him. There just wasn't that much of that. And it doesn't need to be any deep like character study for all movies or horror film or anything. They just came off a little bit rushed to me. There were some really fun scenes throughout the movie. The main creatures in the film are actually pretty creepy most of the time. They have a really fun movement to them, and their sound design's pretty good. Conceptually, I thought it was a pretty interesting idea. I don't know if it's been done or not before or anything, but I liked it quite a bit. And like conceptually, I just thought, especially the creatures themselves were really good, and they're largely kept off screen. You don't get to see them like full on for the most part, and I think that is to the benefit of the creatures. I think it makes them more off-putting. And there is a scene where they're pretty like front and center in the scene, but the way the lighting's done and everything, you don't get to actually see their details or anything. And that was probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Was just they are pretty dang intimidating when they were there. Yeah, there's some really fun parts in the movie. It's just the last about 10-20 minutes really tanked the movie's overall viewing experience, in my opinion. It's the ending just kind of fell apart. I went to see this with my girlfriend, and we both just kind of like couldn't quite figure out why the ending went the way it did, and we're just very on the ending. Like we just don't really know how to feel about it, and it just kind of fell apart pretty quick, especially after the like what seemed like the end of the main like conflict slash like climax. Before the ending was just after that point it went downhill pretty quickly. With the ending, again, trying to avoid as much spoilers as possible, it's pretty much just like a very rapid and largely unprompted character change at the very end of the movie that just changes things a lot, and it felt pretty weak and unprompted again. Just overall, it was very it happened, and I was like, it didn't seem like it was set up to go in that direction. There could have been more like character choices that made more sense throughout the movie to get to that point. It just came off as very like, oh, that happened. Didn't really feel like it fit the rest of the movie and previous things that we've seen in the same movie. It feels like an extra 10 minutes that they added on just because they could, almost. Like, there could have been a completely different ending, it felt like. But yeah, overall, I thought the concept was pretty interesting and it held my attention pretty well, especially through that beginning portion of the movie. I thought that was pretty decently solid. Um, it just starts to fall off pretty quickly, especially towards the ending there. And it just, especially that ending, just left me feeling very yeah about the whole thing. But I mean, overall, I would say I'd give The Watchers about a 40%. By far not the worst movie that I have ever seen, but there was some definite flaws in the movie, and that ending was just pretty baffling to me. But yeah, that's all I got for the quick review on that. This is something that I can try to do more often. I don't really go out and see movies super frequently when they come out. I have been meaning to watch Furiosa for a while, and I have not. I watched the Planet of the Apes movie and then just never really talked about it. But I want to try to talk about movies that I see that are usually new movies. I might go back and do some older movies, but if I do that, it probably won't be this video format. It'll be more edited, more essay like, probably, if I do that. But yeah, if I just go to a movie and want to do a quick review, I might start doing this a little bit, and I kind of hope that piques some interest. But yeah, that's all I got on The Watchers. Yeah, see people later. Have a great day.